A lot of guys' goal when in the bedroom will, without a doubt, be to try and get her to orgasm. Is there any very quick, simple tips which they can implement to achieve that?
So it depends. If they want to give her like a penetrative orgasm, a squirting orgasm, like a clitoral orgasm. So there's a few ways I can answer this. I think one of the because some women can be a lot easier to make come from, say, cunnilingus or direct clitoral stimulation, right? And other girls can actually come quite easily from penetration. And some girls have never even come from penetration before because they just haven't had the spot hit quite right. One of the things that I teach guys that tends to get a lot of results very quickly is to manipulate angles better in the bedroom. Because penetration is all about the angles of the hips, right? So, for example, if you have your girl laying down in like a missionary position, right? Just simply get a pillow and prop it, like a relatively thick one, right? Prop it under her hips so you're raising her hips up a little bit. Think about what that does.
What, a lower back?
Yeah, like under here, right? So she's, instead of being flat on the bed like that, she's now propped up a little bit like that. Like her head's here, legs here, whatever. Yeah, that's better. Legs here. So instead of being like flat, she is now propped up at like an angle, right? What that does, let's think about like hopefully I can explain this properly to everyone watching at home using my amazing puppetry. That's the vagina, right? If you're going in like normal, she's laying on her back missionary position, the angle of penetration is kind of down in that direction. But her G-spot is actually on the roof at the top of the vaginal wall here, right? So if we put a pillow under her hips and we raise her hips up a bit like that, what that does is it changes that angle of penetration to be more like this, where the head of your penis is directly hitting against that G-spot. And you're going to be hitting the sweet spot and you're going to be giving her, you're far more likely to give her a penetrative orgasm from missionary position when her hips have changed that angle very, very slightly. Another thing you can do in cowgirl position, these are the two like do these tonight changes that I tend to give most guys that tend to get the most results. The other one with cowgirl, most people have this impression of like cowgirl is when she's riding on top of you, for anyone who's not familiar with that. People tend to copy what they see in pornography, which is not designed for pleasure at all. It's designed for the viewer's pleasure. It's not designed for my pleasure.
Purely aesthetic.
It's purely for aesthetics. So in cowgirl, people tend to copy that and they tend to go up and down, more up and down rhythmically, right? Easy change you can do in cowgirl instead is what I like to call panning for gold. So imagine like an old school like mining prospector. He's got that little pan and they go like this with a little pan to like sieve the gold out. Imagine doing that, but with her hips.
Okay.
So she's on top of you, and instead of going up and down, you're moving her backwards and forwards, right? So she's inside of you, and that will cause the head of your penis to slam again and again and again into her G-spot. And you could, if this is when I'm going to get you off, and then I'm going to go, and we're having a happy night. This will be my go-to, her on top, cowgirl like that, and very, very forcefully pushing her back and forth like that and slamming the head of my penis into the G-spot like that. You can get a girl to come in like a minute, really, really quick, like probably less than that. If you do that if she's very susceptible to that kind of stimulation, not every girl is. They're all a little bit different in that regard. Some tend to prefer the clitoral stimulation a bit more. But if you can get that position down pat and you can do it with enough force, you do actually need to work out. Like you do need some degree of like strength to be able to move a woman like rapidly like that.
Yeah.
But you can get them to pop. And a big part of getting them to orgasm in that way is kind of it's the element of surprise in a way. Because if a woman is in her head, she can't climax. If she's thinking too much, she will never be able to come. So this is where dominance comes in, by the way. When you're dominant and you're leading and you're sort of being a bit maybe more like manhandly, it puts a woman in this subspace where she's not thinking anymore. She's just being present and she can let go. And when she can let go and not think like that, she's far more orgasmic. So when you do this sort of cowgirl thing, if you just do it kind of quickly and unexpectedly, like without giving her a chance to really think about it, before she knows what's happened, she's climaxed. She's like, oh, bang, pop, happy days. She's like, what the hell was that?
And she's going to remember that.
Right, but it's because you didn't give her time to think, right? Because one of the worst things a guy can do, and this might also, I'm giving you like a bunch of different answers. I know you answered for one thing.
No, that's good stuff though.
One of the worst things a guy can do in the bedroom is try to please his partner too much. Like, be so desperate to please her. Have that, I mean, having that kind of energy, that attitude, because women are very, very good at picking up on vibes from guys. They're very, very good at picking up body language. She will know instantly if you are desperate to make her orgasm. You know, if you go into sex with this like, oh, I need to make her come, otherwise I won't feel like a man. Or I need to make her come, otherwise I'll feel worthless, or I'll feel inadequate in the bedroom, or whatever it is, right? That kind of desperation, she will feed off of that, and it will only make it worse. It'll put her in her head, because if the guy needs to make her come, well, now he's just put a whole bunch of pressure on her, and now she's in her head, and she's like, oh God, if I don't come, then he's gonna feel self-conscious. I don't want to upset him. I don't want to bruise his ego. Blah 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 blah. Now what's she doing? She's just hamster wheeling, thinking in her head again and again, and then she ain't present. She ain't paying attention to what the sensations she's feeling. All you've done is put her in her head. So this is what the frame of mind I recommend guys go into the bedroom with. It sounds counterintuitive, but I call it the selfish pervert frame of mind. So you're not selfish in the regard of like, oh, I'm going to pump for 30 seconds and bust and I'm going to sleep. You're not selfish in that regard. You're selfish in the regard of, I'm going to do things to her for my own perverse amusement. Like, she's my sexual muse, and she's just along for the thrill of the ride. You know, it's not like I'm doing them just to please her. I'm doing them because I enjoy exploring her body, and I enjoy getting her off more than she enjoys getting off herself, if that makes sense. But it's selfishness in a perverted kind of way, which stops you from having that mentality of, oh, I desperately need to please her. And it makes you a little bit more dominant and kind of masculine in your approach to things too.